coming through for us.
I'm here.
Okay. Well, that all seems to be dandy. Let's unplug this
I see
thing.
noise sound
Who's that?
things.
That's the fourth microphone under the table.
Oh, yeah, okay, because there's... Yeah.
Yeah,
I thought it was like
yeah.
another system. Back up.
No.
Surreptitiously held under...
No. So I have the option
Okay.
for anyone's voice to use either that shotgun microphone, any
Boom.
of these cardioid microphones, the lapel mics, or this thing. So this should theoretically be the most recorded podcast
in Machination Log history?
in Machination Log history,
right.
if not the world.
Well, I will say that I was present at the inception.
You were. You were present at the inception of both the redundancy and the initiation to boot.
Yeah, I think you were on the first podcast.
Damn.
You were.
Oh, man.
Genesis.
It's good to be here. It's good to be back.
It is good to be
Man,
back.
it seems like so long since that raucous Scarface party we had.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Any fresh scars from that viewing of Scarface, anybody?
Nope.
No, okay,
Not a
good.
one.
Excellent, all right.
Nothing David's going to talk about.
What? Yeah, it's fine.
Nothing visible. You get my meaning.
There wasn't anything visible.
All right.
There's, anyway, so... Oh, AC. Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Machination Log for whatever day it is, the 20th. It's probably September 20th, 2017, since the 20th is a little vague for a podcast. It's been a while since we've done one of these.
It's been since the general.
Since the general, I've been tied up with a thing which will also make its way into the Machination Log and will hopefully be the genesis and inspiration for many other Machination Log things to come, including the camera that's recording this, including the on-tour mics I got going.
David, are you going like every media company now and going to more video?
Global, yes.
Yeah, excellent. Global and more video.
International. Well,
Excellent.
yeah, no, I bought a camera. It's been driving me insane for 2 weeks, and I'm going to write about it.
Excellent, all right.
Yeah.
Nothing like some inspiration.
Yeah.
And that,
A little bit.
Is that the machinery over there?
That is the machinery over there.
Yeah, it's
Nice.
recording us right now.
Good Lord.
You could wave to it, but the odds of this video going up are very low.
That's
Excellent.
good.
So-
That's good.
It's up to you. You could flip it off. Nicole, this is the
pick.
movie.
Yeah, but it's not my pick.
It's
But
not.
it's yes. So this is
Ryan.
our wild card that Ryan
Wild
picked.
card pick, yes.
And boy, what a wild card it was.
By a rare coincidence, we found ourselves lacking themes to pick movies, so I decided I'd just generate my own theme, which would be awesomeness. And in the spirit of awesomeness, I picked an awesome fucking movie, if I do say so myself. I picked 1980
One.
something, 1980 somethings, Al Pacino, Brian De Palma, Scarface. Let's talk about it.
That sounds good. Ryan, what's Scarface all about?
So apparently, and correct me if I'm wrong, this movie is about cocaine.
I thought it was an indictment of the Carter administration.
That too, actually. There are a few things
I
in the
thought
80s
this
that
was
weren't.
a subverted American dream, like your last movie pick.
Well, good. Now we can talk about these kinds of things and try to get them out.
I don't want to step on anybody else's intention with this, but I really don't care about the plot of this movie at all.
No,
I
so-
kind of just want to talk about the vibe of this movie.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, your head was exploding while you were watching it. I know you don't remember any of it, but you
Oh, I
basically...
do. No. I don't
Yeah,
get
but-
blackout drunk.
Okay,
Yeah.
but yeah,
I
you were
vividly remember every
you were
intense, awful
very
experience I am intoxicated.
exuberant about many of the themes while watching this movie, even though you missed the climactic ending.
It's an exuberant thing. And Ryan had
Yeah.
suggested that we do some level of living up. I don't know what your exact quote was at the end of the general when you recommended the way we should watch this, but I felt that feeling Scarface was at least as important as watching it.
Yes.
And I
Yes.
think
It's very important.
Yes.
and I think that worked out
Yes.
because I didn't literally black out, but I had to go outside, shall
Yes.
we say, right when Tony hit the top,
Yeah.
and that was perfect because I watched the rest of the movie while I was sober later on, and I think that was appropriate because I felt like him, even though I couldn't see him. Like I had this very specific connection to the attitude
you
that
both
he portrays.
fell at the same time.
We did. We hit the top, and
Yeah.
then I went outside and threw up and felt like him
Right.
until everybody left.
Excellent.
Which hopefully everybody got home okay because I wasn't able to say goodbye to anyone.
Yeah, I
we're
didn't
all-
see you.
we're here.
I think we were okay.
Yeah.
I can't account for everyone
I
else
mean, there was a
there.
hurricane afterwards, but I think we all made it through that too.
Yeah, that brushed it under the rug as well. Oh, that's true. We have an excuse for not having a podcast.
Yeah.
Yeah, a hurricane blew through.
I know you guys didn't lose power, but some of us did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Some had some hardships here.
Yeah.
Yeah, not us.
Thoughts and prayers go out to, whoever that happened to have been.
Yeah, no, but they just keep coming, man. For fucking Puerto Rico now is like,
100% without power or emergency services.
even the power stations out of power.
Yeah.
That's bad.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's rough out there.
Or like if you have an emergency, they said you can call the radio station.
Oh, very good. God damn.
Anyway, that's 2017. Catch it.
Yeah, no.
Back to 1981.
Yeah. Well, apparently there are fewer hurricanes going on, at least. But what there is, rather than Puerto Ricans, there's Cubans.
Yes.
And they're coming over on boats. Lots of boats.
Thanks, Carter.
Yeah. What are we going to do with them all, right? Well, apparently we're going to stick them under I-95 in the summer. And then just hope everything goes well, that they appreciate that. And it turns out that they don't. So... All right, I want to get a plot on this thing, right? So Scarface, right? The famous Scarface, that Scarface you're thinking of, yes, that one,
Yeah.
right? It is that movie, and right, I think with our first way to approach it is to get our more general thoughts about this, right? The fact that this is a pop culture phenomenon. I wouldn't call it like a cult hit, would you guys? Because there's
No,
like
there's a little bit of weirdness to it. First off, I want to touch on a point quickly that David said about the top 100 movies and how he wants to rewrite it. He doesn't agree with them. Scarface is not on that list,
Yes.
and I think it should get the Godfather's spot because that movie sucks.
all right. Point noted.
I
now,
need to
second point.
rewatch The Godfather before I can support that opinion, but tentatively speaking, sure, why not?
Okay. Oh, well,
this
you're lucky
movie-
you got a second.
Because this
all right.
movie is awesome.
Yes.
Yeah.
No, look, like this is not a great movie, but it is a fucking awesome movie. I have to say, and
But there's so many intangibles with it that I think.
that's the thing.
Yeah.
Like it has an appeal, despite the fact that there's clearly things wrong with it. Like you can watch. Like I never begrudge people who tell me that. Like, I mean, I've never met someone, but like hypothetically, there might be a person out there that I would not begrudge who would say, "That fucking movie."
Yeah, people think it's overrated.
Yeah, like that fucking movie. Yeah. And I mean, like I said, I've never met a person like this, but I could assume that there is a person out there, and I could hear them out, But
They're on the internet.
yeah, but my only argument to this idea that this movie somehow bathes in mediocrity, right? That it like just lovingly embraces it like a cheap fur coat, right? Like to those people, I would just have to say, come on, like just come on. Like, what are we doing here? Like, this is a movie. It is. I mean, this movie is raucous, and like in a very real way, I find this movie to be in love with itself to a large degree.
I mean, it's overacted. It's overshot.
Yes.
It's ridiculously long.
Yes.
It's overindulgent.
Yes.
But the thing is, put together, it's such an excellent ride.
Mm-hmm.
Because there was a couple things when we were watching it. Like we managed to take an intermission, like exactly at the point
Yes.
in which it would be appropriate to take. And it wasn't like we were planning this. It's just that the movie like naturally you're like, no, this is a good spot, and then we moved on. Like,
It's long enough for it, certainly.
and the thing is, the movie's very long, but not one person was complaining about length. Like
no, stuff's happening the whole time.
rolls, and it moves, and it does not drag.
See,
Right.
it's weird. You talked about overacting and like overly dramatic and stuff. It's weird because it almost strikes me the other way around, where I think a lot of what makes this movie work above and beyond, the good. I think this movie actually sort of transcends the so bad it's good
Yes.
kind of thing, because in particular Tony Montana. He is one of the best not actually audience surrogates I've ever seen in a movie.
Yes. Excellent.
He
point.
looks like a kid.
Mm-hmm.
He talks like everybody thinks in their head. He is the most not actually cool person I think I've ever seen in a movie, and it's amazing because it comes across in all of Al Pacino's acting. He clearly is thinking something more flamboyant than what is coming across on screen 95% of the time.
Yes, absolutely.
And you can get this every time he's about to give a monologue of some kind, because you can see him psyching himself up and then just saying it. And really, like, some of his lines are funny, but for the most part, they're really not that great. They're just him being a badass in exactly the way everybody wishes they could be.
Right.
You know, throwing in his hat after leaving the dishwasher job, demanding more money out of some thugs for a job.
Right.
Being accused of being a rat and just having a comeback for this movie is so fantastical.
Yes.
It without having it's about as fantastical as a movie can be without having magic in it, given especially in the climax of the movie when he's shot like 30 times and
Cocaine's
just
a
keeps
hell of
going.
a drug.
Yeah, so I've heard.
Yeah.
But this movie so encapsulates this. So you guys talked about how this movie would explain a lot when I saw it, and I totally get that.
Yes.
Yeah,
like
it's permeated into the culture, like in so many different ways.
well, who wouldn't, especially, and again, it's specifically the scrappy, still like adolescently minded.
Yep.
Who doesn't want to be Tony Montana? Who
Right.
doesn't want to be a cool killer who can get whatever he wants, and even almost even wants what happens to him in the end? Like
Yes.
even his fall is so totally like neo-capitalistic and ridiculous.
Yeah, and people don't fault him for that. He's still like an iconic legend, and he's kind of like a he's like kind of like a ghetto mythical character.
No,
And his
he's only a
fall
bad
is-
guy because he calls himself a bad guy.
Yeah.
Like, that's the only reason we think of him as a bad guy in, like, this zeitgeisty way. Otherwise, he's OG. Like, he's got all of that. He is totally just that vibe. And he came in at just the right time to be an icon for that as
Absolutely.
well.
Well, and I think that you've like made the illusion of Tony Montana, right, Al Pacino's character, Scarface, as being iconic, right? It's a kind of iconic role, and yet not having any of the presuppositions of what you would actually want an icon to be, right? He has
No, because he should be an anti-hero.
Yes, exactly. But he is so embraced, and it's not. He's given more than the benefit of the doubt, right? He's given the benefit of the presupposition and the benefit of the judgment, and he's given like you're watching this movie and you're like, this guy, not a good person, right? I wouldn't want him in my life.
No.
He's killed someone by the end of the first scene.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then you're like,
They established that very early.
Yeah. And so you're like into this whole into this character. And I mean, once again, this film, for one of its major benefits, is the fact that it is one of the most indulgent films that I can watch.
Oh, just cinematically, it's
Yes.
so indulgent.
But this is, part of why I love art in particular is that, like, art is one of the very few things that you can completely indulge in, and there's not a huge, it's not like it has the potential to be hedonistic with so few downsides on the end of it. Like there's so many things that you can indulge in to where you will sooner or later regret. But watching just pure indulgent cinema is something that I can really get behind. And it's just so enjoyable to to have films to where there are no bad ideas and most of them are the right ones, right? And I think that Scarface kind of is like, well, couldn't we just do this and make it a little bit more X, Y, or Z? And you're thinking, that sounds good. Let's try that, and
More bullets.
yeah, reading some of the articles and some of the interviews with some of the people around this movie, that's exactly the kind of attitude that was that Brian De Palma kind of cultivated with this. A lot of the really, neat little subtleties within the performances of the characters are in fact, ad-libbed, right? And Brian De Palma is actually pretty famous for, allowing this kind of space for people to, inhabit, to get the feel of the film. And then I think trusts his process and the people he's chosen within that process to express themselves within it. So, for example, I realized this, and I believe, internet world can correct me if this is wrong, which I don't give a shit. But apparently, when Tony Montana refers to the cocaine that the Colombians carry after that scene, when he says the line, "Chichi, get the yayo." Apparently, that is the first time yayo has been used. That is the birth
of yayo.
Yeah, and apparently, Pacino working with the consultants and his voice coach with this, kind of like came up with this slang term for it. So this idea that like yayo is now what cocaine is known for, apparently, from my sources, this is one of the first times being used for this. Another one of the great scenes that gets mentioned by this is Al Pacino when he's trying to seduce Elvira in the car. They have this exchange, and she looks away in disgust, and he takes her hat and like puts it on his head, and then like looks at her really, almost like Harpo Marx, and like kind of like boyish, mischievous expression that she has. And, she looks over and sees him in this fucking hat and like, like cracks up, like breaks out. But then, composes herself and actually ad-libs the rest of the scene with him. And, once again, it's one of those weird things where it's at a perfect moment in the film to where that character for her begins to, warm up or open up to the idea of, Tony Montana as as someone in her life. And it's just those little things that come out in this film that I think give it, because it is such a heavily stylized movie, Brian De Palma, I think, has struck this good balance of finding and allowing spontaneity and trusting in his process to allow these kinds of moments to come out to where the movie doesn't feel hammed up. It doesn't feel hammy. It doesn't feel like they're Broadwaying, if so to speak, this idea that they're going to like, speak to the rafters and like overact. I mean, the movie is clearly overacted, like I said, but it doesn't feel hammed up. It doesn't feel like there's a lot of ingenuineness in the performances.
I think the cinematography goes a long way in explaining that.
Right.
There is not a whole lot of creativity to the way that it's put together. There is a lot. There are plenty of close-up shots, but there are very few aggressive angles.
Mm-hmm.
There's not a whole lot of jump cutting, except for during action scenes. It's relatively staid, and I think that lets the actors' performances actually exist without
because
being
each
absurd.
scene is essentially like a huge set piece that they want to
they're at the apartment,
lavish in.
Mm-hmm.
or they're at the restaurant, or
Or they're at a phone booth on a dock in the sunset with nothing else around in the middle of Biscayne Bay.
That scene's pretty good.
It is good.
Yeah, that's a very scenic phone booth.
But then you get, like you said, Nicole, a lot of the scenes though, right, where we get a lot of exposition, there isn't a lot of that story element, right? When characters will be spending a lot of time talking to each other, those scenes are rather subdued, right? So like Tony Montana at his mother's place, right? That conversation, that scene is not really edited and shot in a way to kind of like, lead to some sort of climax, even though a lot of scenes that are meant to, like you say, delve into more action, right? Or to where, movement of the camera actually becomes important, right? Those scenes are in a sense set up and then executed in a way to provide the kind of dramatic import. The one scene I'm talking about, which is subtle, because it seems like a talkie scene, we're going to learn a bunch about characters, but is actually a scene set up for this kind of emotional climax within itself, is the first time that Tony Montana meets Robert Loggia's character. What's his the first big kingpin that he works for?
Frank?
Yeah, Frank. Yeah. So
upgrade to Frank.
Yeah, when he goes to his house or apartment to meet him for the first time, it's a house, mansion.
He's got an elevator.
Yeah, that's the thing, right?
Yeah.
So we get this scene where they converse with each other, and you think the scene is about Tony's connection with Frank. And they go to sit on this like ridiculous 80s couch, where like
it's big and circular.
Yeah, the seat's like 4 times like longer than the back is high. It's absurd.
It's got a glass egg chair.
Unbelievably ridiculous. And which is wonderful. And
what else are you gonna do with that money?
Yeah, but
that was a serious problem for cocaine dealers. Was
really.
What to do with all that money?
Either spending or retaining it.
Yeah, no, that was a serious problem back in those times when you were dealing cocaine.
Still probably is.
Oh, more money.
Yeah,
mo problems.
Yeah. So
they hadn't invented that phrase yet.
Yeah, we had to wait till the early '90s.
Yeah,
Goldman Sachs era. So. Yeah, we're still doing. This is all so naive, We're all pre-savings and loan crisis,
Yeah, well, this is when you could still buy out the banks to let you bring your trash bags full of money in, and I think
Reagan had not hit the scene.
Yeah, Reagan, I think,
this is
put an end
Carter
to that.
decadence.
Yeah.
This is totally different.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is the kind of decadence that can only thrive over ineptness.
Yeah, well, and Nixon had made the volume issue because he for the drug trade he only wanted $100 bills, so he got rid of like the really large bills. So that just meant that they had to bring like trash bags of money to the bank.
Mm-hmm.
It was literally a volume problem, and then the bank would go, we physically don't have room for this money.
And they have a good tip of the hat even in this movie too, that where they have a bunch of people carrying carpet bags full of cash into the bank, or it's going past the window.
Yes.
And the guy's just watching as it all
God.
comes in.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
with that part two. All right, so I fucking love this movie. God
Vibe.
damn
Oh,
it.
I do too.
So that little okay. I don't know what I'm going to talk about. All right.
I mean, we can go in order
No,
if we want to do that.
only in the sense that I'd rather us kind
Let's
of like.
let's pick a character.
Let's talk about Manny. Can we talk about Manny?
Sure.
Okay. So for one thing, Manny is an actual Cuban American.
Yeah, he's the only one in the whole movie.
Everyone else in the movie is very Italian.
They were going to option someone else for the main role, and it was, of course, Robert De Niro.
Oh, very good. Yeah.
Which would, made it that much better.
Oh, so good. So yeah, everyone's Italian except for Manny. But Manny's is
And I think the mom looked very Cuban.
yes,
Tony's
she-
mom.
Puerto Rican.
Okay.
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah, Puerto
No,
Rican,
I
not
believe
Cuban.
I believe
But
Manny
she was
the-
Latino at least.
And also, the funny thing, the actress who played Tony Montana's mom, Al Pacino's mom, it was only 4 years older than Al Pacino. So, like, yeah. And then you have Marie Abraham for some reason.
And what makes Manny's casting there even more of a slap in the face is they brought him in. He didn't actually have to do his audition on site. They went, "Oh, that guy's perfect."
Mm-hmm.
Funny enough,
Oh,
the Cuban American plays a Cuban American pretty well.
yeah.
Yeah.
And his character too is, once again, so stylized, right? He is this
He's the
kind
playboy.
of he's this epitome of the kind of like, swanky Latin suaveness that you can that would expect from someone who has ambition and money and greasy hair and tight-fitting clothing. I mean, it is both a stereotype, and yet he is once again not played as a joke, even though there is a lot of humor between the characters and the kind of contrast, because Manny plays, in a sense, an interesting kind of counterpoint where Manny is suave. Tony Montana kind of lacks the niceties, right? Where he is good looking and tall and svelte, Montana is short and squat. And if you actually watch the film, Al Pacino is shorter than every other male character that he has put up against. In fact, De Palma intentionally shoots him this way, as being this kind of like undersized character that moves, that is seemed at or is overcoming disadvantages at all things.
It contributes to the degree to which he looks like a kid.
Yes, absolutely. And when you look at like how shots are composed, there is this interplay where he is consistently shorter than all the other characters within the frame, and it is just one of those little reminders about how this story kind of like, I think, psychologically sets us up to how we kind of view this thing. And so much of this is done well, like through these juxtapositions of people within it, within the frame and within the story as well. I love Manny, and Manny is one of the first also characters that we get introduced, and he and Scarface are in a sense kind of locked into the struggle from the beginning. And I like to talk about Manny. You guys, anyone else like Manny, or am I the only one who was? Dude, I love that guy. So
Manny's
much.
the kind of person that I can't like in real life, and in that way that I
Hey, sorry about that.
I know that I know how good an actor he is by the degree to which he churns that little bit in my stomach.
Mm-hmm.
Watching him make passes at ladies.
Yeah.
Which he does pretty much the entire movie.
Yes, that's what he is about.
It's a
Yeah,
massive
absolutely.
component of his character.
He's a good balance to the Tony character.
Kind of a stereotype. Absolutely.
Yeah. 100%. Was he the foundation of that stereotype?
I would probably say not. I think that horny, svelte, semi-stylish Latino men is something that we could probably find other examples of.
Fair enough.
Yeah. I wish you'd had set it up though. But he has some great little moments with this, with the cringeworthiness of his ability to seduce people.
Yeah.
Oh god.
Or inability there too.
Yeah, that's the
Yeah.
joke, right? Where there's this because of his poise and his mannerisms, we're led to believe something about him, and yet the film sets up multiple scenarios in which he
gets
falls.
rejected.
Yeah, he
Yeah.
falls on his face. It's
Even though he does follow Tony's mantra, he gets the money and the power and then gets the woman.
much unfortunately.
Yeah, but he picked the
Unfortunately
wrong
for
woman.
him,
Yeah, really. the one woman, right?
Yeah.
Because you can't have you can have any woman you want except one, but that's the one I want.
And it's the only one he gets.
Unbelievable. So we.
It's the worst from all sides for him.
But I think what's weird and striking about this film is that it fucking has time to do this shit. Like in a film about Tony Montana, like we find out a lot about we find out a lot about Manny. Like we see him and his mannerisms and his character is allowed to kind of come out in a lot of details throughout the story. And it's once again it's not clearly not the central focus. But his values, his mannerisms, all that kind of comes out really well in the film and through the story.
And I do appreciate, in a way that simply does not happen anymore, I understand that we had to grow to get to this point, and I kind of wish we'd scale it back. I like that they don't attempt to over-humanize his character, that he is, in fact, and I'm using humanize in scare quotes there, he is just that stereotype. And when you see him on screen, you can be roughly confident what he's going to do at all times.
Well, and he's not necessarily sympathetic at all either, because he's just as cold-blooded as Tony. I mean, if Tony says shoot somebody, I mean, he doesn't blink.
Yeah.
Like
he's just not as ambitious.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, their loyalty to each other is assumed and then never really explained, and it doesn't necessarily, I think that I think for like De Palma and even for Oliver Stone. Oh, by the way, this movie's written by Oliver Stone.
Yes.
Okay, yeah. Just throw that little tidbit out there.
While expressly not on cocaine.
Yeah, apparently that was a problem for him, from what I understand as well, during this time period. So there's nothing like, writing a film about the very demons you're facing at that moment.
I'm sure it was very therapeutic for him.
Absolutely. He took all those fever dreams that he had in cocaine-filled days and just put them all on a script and wrote it down for us. Thank God. So, but Manny is involved in some of my favorite scenes, and in particular for me, I like this movie as a whole. This movie really has two sequences in it that I think are absolutely brilliant, and you guys probably guess what they are, but they occur within the first hour of the film. And this is when I first watched this movie, we were chemically enhanced in watching this film, and these things just burned themselves into my mind. They became something that I thought about, that I've analyzed, that I have spent a lot of time thinking about why I was so affected by them, and I find them just incredibly enjoyable to watch, and I enjoy them every time. The first of these scenes is the assassination sequence of the Rebenga hit in the refugee camps under the overpasses. That riot assassination scene, I find totally fucking great. Like it is one of my top 5 sequences in film of all time. And what I want to ask David is that did you find that scene as is that high up on your list? Did you find that impactful at all? Did you
to fill out the rest of the sentence? It's a great fucking scene. So there's the whole color temperature of the scene is it's like in the 2000 Kelvin range. It's like almost red.
Yes.
There are beds and feathers flying up behind Manny. This is also easily Manny's most badass scene.
Yes, exactly.
He's just walking Terminator style. Following Rebenga. He knows he's gonna get him. He's not worried about it. And in the background, there is the equivalent of fire is down feathers from these beds. And that effect is really cool. It's a little fun. It's a little hokey at the front because people are pretending to destroy stuff but can't destroy it because Manny hasn't passed them yet. Manny's the line of destruction. And they're feigning to hit the bed with these 2x4s, and that's a little hokey. But everything prior to that it's a really good facsimile of the effect of explosions going off in the background.
Yeah, absolutely. It's such a kinetic environment in which the scene is established for the riot, and then you go from this exterior riot, and it's this these panning shots, right, showing the sequence moving forward. We go from exterior to interior of a tent where there's fires, mattresses, people, and close, banging shit around. And you're absolutely right. I think, for me, it's one of those things in cinema when you see violence portrayed, it's usually good to kind of macro out your vision a little bit rather than focusing on individual things that aren't kind of like the focus. So you see, like if you peer at Manny, you see this, like you said, this cacophony of motion happening within these scenes and these colors moving rather quickly, and the tension of the scene is so excellently crafted in terms of both the shot sequence, the editing, and then of course the sound and use of music, which is first initially subdued but then steadily rises. And like all good intense scenes, Rebenga, as he's making his way out of the tent, finds himself or sees, the light outside that he is heading towards, and it's almost like he might get away from it. We know he won't, right? But and then of course he gets out. He gets stabbed by Tony, and then
Tony cuts him off.
Yeah, just catches him at the exit. And Jack and shivs him, I guess. Shivs him a couple times in the abdomen, and then the guy slowly meanders, walks down, falls down, and then rolls over in this just ridiculous pose in the middle of this fucking riot that's happening around him. I mean, it is so goddamn good. And what's also fun too is that the film continues that. It's like it doesn't stop it right off, right? The whole context for the assassination is the fact that the people in the refugee camp are rioting based on their conditions. And so the immediate scene after he dies is the kind of craziness at the immigration office when they're getting their papers. So we get this really cool transition to kind of cool down from it.
Yeah, because that was their gift for doing this, was that they would get papers to get out of the refugee camp.
Yeah, so it's so well executed in the build up and then the execution, and then on this the way in which it kind of resolves itself and tries to carry over some of that energy, that chaos and energy from the initial scene in the riot. Like I said, you can probably tell I fucking love this scene. It is once again stylized to a fucking hilt. And the unnecessary use of overhead shots, I'm always a fan of. I love a good unnecessary overhead shot.
And those were way harder before drones.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh yeah, fucking drones. Yeah, this is craned in, motherfucker, on an actual film camera. No playing around here, right?
Shot number 2.
Yeah, you had to want to do this. Oh well, it's sequence number 2, my absolute second favorite sequence, and it is a close second. Is the Colombians and chainsaw scene. This fucking scene is incredibly well done.
I was amazed, I've seen this movie a handful of times, but I was amazed at how just Hitchcockian that scene is, from the tension and the setup to the way the camera moves out of the hotel to the getaway car, and it never identified just how Hitchcockian that whole scene goes down.
Now, De Palma uses that interior exterior spaces, and he to juxtapose those, and also to kind of, once again, the idea that you mentioned Hitchcockian, right?
Yeah.
And one of the big themes within Hitchcock is voyeurism, right? Is what is happening behind what we can't see. And Hitchcock.
And this scene plays with that well.
Looking out the window.
Oh, baby.
Well, even just the chaos that's going on inside, and then how no one else right outside that room is even aware of what's going on, including the people that are supposed to be aware of what's going on.
Well, and then what triggers off, because there's supposed to be an exchange of drugs between the Colombians who are in the hotel room and Montana, who's there to barter the trade. Right, the whole fucking thing is that, once again, is them being taken by surprise. Right, the exterior coming in on the interior. There's several layers to that scene that where the outside is imposing on the inside, and it just is one thing after another. I mean, that's where we get the yayo scene. There's this great thing where they have this fucking back and forth between you got the stuff, and he's like, you got the money, and he's like, I don't got it with me, and he's like, I don't have it with me either, and then he's like, all right, we want me to come back in and we fucking do this again? It's just...
Yeah, no, everything about it seems entirely suspicious. There's no reason to believe this is going to go well. I mean, even there's a lady sitting on the bed,
not paying
very
attention to the TV.
uncomfortably lounged on these pillows. It was obvious what she was doing the first time I saw them. I knew what her role in the scene was.
Absolutely.
Right from the beginning. My favorite part of the scene actually doesn't... It's not the psycho bathroom moment. It is it's how we know. It's the moment when foul play begins. it's not a person, it's just a gun
Yes.
coming up from the bottom of the scene.
Yeah.
Yep.
Which is just a great little reveal. It's like a peekaboo,
Yep.
something's wrong kind of thing.
Well, and once again, De Palma doesn't overemphasize that moment, right? He allows the visual to clue in.
Yeah.
And the music and sound only reacts to the scene afterwards as well, right? So rather than
No, you have to pick up on it yourself.
yeah, exactly. But it's finessed in a very cool way that is once again. I mean, this movie. I mean, the fact that it kind of the fact that it's so 80s, but then the fact that it has this that it seemingly has such a lowbrow approach to it, right? Like this thing is just. I mean, you're not finding. I should say for one thing, critics fucking hated this movie, right? Like it was
Except for Roger Ebert.
yes. Oh, Roger Ebert, badass movie critic. All right, I was gonna say badass movie critic. OG. Roger Ebert, fucking OG. All right.
He loves Herzog, so
Yeah.
I can't fault him.
But like the Hollywood premiere of this film, fucking did not go well. A lot
I
of the
think
stories you hear.
it's almost like it's too soon because it's looking back. I mean, talk about a distillation of like the 80s, but like it would probably be like too much. It'd be like, oh yeah, like you're just making fun of like us now. But when you go back, you're like, it's such a pure version of like everything the 80s wanted to be because Cobra was a shitty example of how this movie went wrong.
There's a scene where Al Pacino is sitting at a table near a beach where Sylvester Stallone could have stunt doubled for him.
right.
He looked exactly the same. Just
The music in this movie was the music that Cobra wanted but couldn't afford.
which is also not good at all, except for maybe one song.
But that is the best of the 80s. Like, you don't get bigger than Giorgio Moroder out of the disco era. Like,
Look,
that was the
Slim
best
Pickens.
80s music
Yeah.
money
But-
could buy.
Yeah, no.
So apparently in 2003, when this was going for the big special, when this was going to go on DVD, apparently the studio asked Brian De Palma to authorize a version that would use updated hip hop music, to
Because
like
they've culturally
connect to that
appropriated this
appropriation.
movie so
and
much.
Brian De Palma told him to fuck off because he knows what fucking good disco music is supposed to sound like. Anyway, so.
And that's okay. They'll put hip hop in the new remake of it that's coming out next year.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, how sad.
Oh, this is depressing.
Written by the Coen brothers.
I will see that movie. But this is the thing. So, I mean, one thing. So, Scarface is based on a 1932 production, Howard Hawks production.
Well, okay, so was the original considered a gangster or film noir? Because I felt...
One of the first.
Both?
Gangster.
Gangster, okay,
Yeah.
because that was another thing upon rewatching this again after all these years was I picked up on so many different film noir elements
Yes.
through it. Like, I can touch on that later, but like stuff with the clothes and stuff like that I had never like really picked up on before.
There's some. I think that this would. This could kind of fall into that category of of neo noirs that kind of come out of
Okay,
this
yeah,
time period, like
I
your body
feel-
heats and stuff. Like
That's it. I feel like it has a bit of a noir, at least flavor to it.
well, there was just I think there's several sequences of films that kind of come out, and I mean, ironically enough, some of them are most of them in Florida, where there is this like steamy, hot kind of approach to the thing, and but Body Heat would be the most initial comparison, where there's not this kind of expressionistic interplay between light and shadow that we would see in like a classic kind of film noir, and yet
But he does it-
compositionally.
But he does it. He does it with cute things. Like he does it with his clothes. Like Tony Montana wears white right into the intermission when he takes over Frank's position and becomes the head guy.
Yeah.
And then all of his suits are black.
Yep, absolutely.
Moving forward, like so, there are like elements in it, even though, I guess it'd be considered more of a gangster than a noir film.
I would. The original Scarface is gangster, right?
Okay.
Absolutely gangster. James Cagney films.
Yeah.
I think this, at least almost 5 to 8 years before Maltese Falcon, which is
Okay.
kind of like the classic initiator of the film noir
That's
genre.
such a talkie.
Yeah, and but once again, even then, it
It's
is
just all dialogue.
yeah. But no, the remake Scarface that we're talking about, right? The Brian De Palma version, I would absolutely put it in more leaning towards more film noir.
Okay.
Primarily because of stylized use of the camera. The themes of it, I think, more are relatable to film noir than classic gangster films anyway.
Okay.
The rise, the fall, the femme fatale.
It felt very neo-noir
Yeah,
to
no, the
me
rise, the
watching
fall,
it this
the
time
femme fatale.
around.
It's all there.
Yeah.
I love it. Fucking love this movie. God damn, I love this movie.
And then there's so many good lines and good, values in this film. Like this is where we got "Don't get high off your own supply," which is excellent advice, and has been, repeated on in, perpetuity since then. And then there's the line at the beginning when he plays out what path he needs to go, because first you need
gotta
the
make the money first. Then when you get the money, you get the power. Then when you get the power, then you get the woman.
I don't know. Have we gotten to the downfall yet? Because there's a lot. We're still kind of going
lines.
up, but
Yeah.
there's some good stuff on the come down too.
Okay,
Sure.
Well, all right, so I got one of my favorite phrases is all I have in this.
All I have in this world is my balls and my word, and I don't break them for nobody.
Yeah.
Oh God damn it! Oh, yeah, that's good stuff, man.
Yeah, it's a good line.
God damn it. So, but the thing, I mean, once again, it's like the attitude and the way in which it's presented. I mean, you've probably known people who have taken on bad impersonations of this film from time to time, maybe after a couple Coronas or something like that, But I mean, but really, that's the thing. Like, this movie is fun to appropriate.
Yeah.
I mean, do you want to talk like this? You just throw a little bit in there.
Shoot this piece of
Yeah,
shit.
chicho que te llevo, it's just fun. And I mean, part of that, once again, I think comes across because it would be fun to make this movie. There's not a lot of downside. I mean, you could just, like you said, to be that version of something that you've always wanted to be,
This is right up Clint Eastwood's alley.
Oh, God almighty. There's just so much that comes from this, type of filmmaking that, I think, once again, Clint Eastwood, I think describing him as indulgent kind of works, right? And I think that this kind of fucking falls into that. But regardless, so Tony Montana...
Also,
go ahead,
actually, no, I guess there's a great parallel there, because Clint Eastwood... casts himself in the star role in all his movies, and this remake got made because Al Pacino watched the first one and went, I want to do that. so there's actually totally a parallel there.
Awesome.
I feel like Al Pacino pulls it off better than Clint Eastwood, but that's a fight for another time.
No, I'd say so, yeah. I'd say
Okay.
so.
Then never mind, that fight's over. Clint
Okay.
Eastwood sucks.
Yeah, no, well, just a comparison to Scarface. I mean, look, it's a high fucking bar to pass, all right? That's all I'm saying. You said this is getting remade?
Yes.
Okay, any idea?
Next year.
So it's written by the Coen brothers. Anyone know what's going on with it? Or?
Nothing else.
Ah, okay.
Are
That's
you
also
serious?
still hearsay.
I was going to say, are you serious? Because if it's written by the Coen brothers, it's going to be a totally out of left field.
Yeah, I don't.
Probably.
Not everything's a hit. I would. I mean,
it's not directed by them.
Yeah,
which that's problematic.
Yeah, that's the other problem.
Since I mean, there's some good lines in Coen Brothers movies, but a lot of it has to do with the camera.
I would be really disappointed because I don't think they've done enough cocaine to write a remake Scarface. But I mean, they might just surprise us, and he's like,
They might take it back to the gangster
that's
thing
true
and
too,
phase out the cocaine part too. I mean, they could go a totally different direction with it. They don't have to cover the story of the rise of a Cuban refugee.
All right.
They can transfer that to some other character.
Well, it's just weird because normally when you think about a remake, you want to see what was done wrong. And
that's why I don't
what
understand
would you do to improve
why
it?
don't they remake shitty movies better? Why do they take good movies and try to remake them?
That's
it doesn't make sense.
The classic remake problem. Well, I mean, the obvious answer to that is that you need the name recognition to get the movie made in the first place.
I suppose.
But
unbelievable.
Yeah, like Spider-Man.
And there's more Punishers coming out. There's been 8 of those.
There have.
Yeah.
I've walked out of the theater in at least one of them.
I believe that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Who cares about the Punisher?
I don't know, but they keep rebooting it.
Terrible costume, right? Uninteresting story based on vengeance, right? Punisher is the asshole's Batman. What are we doing here?
Yeah. That's why the only Punisher that I have enjoyed is Punisher Warzone, which was directed by a woman. So it's basically an interpretation of what
she
guys
thinks
would
guys
like
want?
in a movie like that.
Oh.
And I find that to be much more entertaining.
No, absolutely. I think women should be directing more masculine films. Like,
Yeah.
I think, but this is weird.
It's
Like,
supposed to be a caricature.
No,
Get someone who doesn't understand to do it. That makes perfect sense.
well, no, I think you get someone who.
Well, then
spends,
will they stop having girls like me act like they can like beat up everybody? Because that's not true. Or are guys doing that?
What?
I mean, I know
everybody's in on that.
Everybody likes a badass chick, but listen, like when shit hits the fan, like I want some burly guy taking people out. Like you don't want someone my size doing taekwondo kicks.
It's a fantasy.
No,
world.
the last decade has almost completed the transformation of turning all women into men. We're almost there.
Okay, as someone who
The
trains
dream-
in
the-
combat sports, it's so bullshit. Because listen, I'm the only girl in my combat sports class. Almost every fucking class. Like girls can't do this shit.
Where are the kick-ass women? That's
They're
all I
not.
wanna
There's not that many of them.
They're all in Hollywood.
It's all in their head.
know. But no, but I think that's,
Los Angeles is the nexus of manly women.
no, it's just like so talking about Scarface, right? Like the perspective on this film is clearly from right. It's someone who is not of this, right? It's like why
Okay,
right?
that's. I wanted to start getting into that.
Yeah,
direction.
it's, so but it's why Michael Bay films are not all that good, right? Because he clearly fucking wants, loves, lives this type of mentality. I'm not saying he hasn't, maybe, hit a double in his life or something, but like, Armageddon. But
yeah.
I think that once again there should be something to I think there is something to the fact that when someone is kind of like observed and seen from the outside what these things are, the values are trying to project, to stylize the mannerisms and cliches that come with it. I think that's when you can begin to put them together to have the most fun with the film, right? When you can play fast and loose with these things and, to not take, in a sense, to not take it so seriously.
Yeah.
And that's what I think. That's what I think, right? Like,
Michael Bay certainly can't do that.
no, and that's what I think the problem is, where this film, like I said, while being indulgent, has a fucking a lightness in the touch of it, that where it can, when it
and it also has like I said, it has like a flow and a pace, and it just.
It's a river.
That's what I mean, though. Like it works. Like it's easy to fucking watch.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, Tony doesn't have a grand objective.
No.
Tony is just trying to get ahead in the vaguest possible sense.
This is the American dream, because he is, he's the refugee, and drugs is obviously a quick way to get money, which many people in lower socioeconomic situations have discovered, moving forward
Throughout
as
history.
well. But there's so when Tony becomes Kingpin and, the costume changes to black and he's with Elvira at this point, that's when, like all good nights of doing cocaine, there is a come down off this. And
it runs out.
Yeah. And there's a great scene. I think it's one of the scenes at the club when they're having dinner. And Michelle Pfeiffer's character, Elvira, she's telling Tony, she's like, you're a loser. I'm a loser. Like, we're really just losers. Like, this is all a facade, and we're going to be losers in the end, because that's where we started, and that's where we're going to end up.
Right.
And she was correct.
Yeah.
Because it was a hard fall.
A little bit. I mean, Tony's not built for stability. That much is clear.
Yeah,
So,
he's not a marathon runner.
yeah.
Yeah, Tony's a sprinter.
I mean, and that is exactly what Elvira wanted. I mean, a lot of what makes Elvira consider what they're doing losing behavior is its stagnation. Every time she complains about something, it is in the nature of it being a bore. Frank always goes to the Babylon Club.
Mm-hmm.
The cars come up over and over again.
And she doesn't have anything to do with her time either. I mean, she basically
No, she
sits
wants
around
someone else to give her
and
something to
looks
do.
pretty. That's all she has going for her.
Yeah.
No,
And she's had a lot more time to internalize that.
If the cheap interior of a mansion could talk, right, it would express Elvira's viewpoint on things, right? Like it would, she, like everything she comments is about how like the environment she's in is what's happening in that environment. I mean, one of the best. I mean, one of the most observant and when you see the film or if you're observant enough your first time through it, one of the best lines in the film is when he's made it.
Mm-hmm.
And he's in the big floor.
Jacuzzi scene.
The jacuzzi. He's just in a jacuzzi. The jacuzzi is lowered into the floor. It's fucking brilliant.
The jacuzzi's like 4 times the size of a regular jacuzzi,
Yes.
but it's
It's
in
just a
in his
hot pool.
bedroom.
Yeah, he's alone in this thing. Like I'd imagine there's like a thing that like comes across, like it's like it just like seals up, and you don't want it. But he's in there and he's watching TV and he's bitching about what he's seeing on TV. And she's painting her nails in the background, and she says,
Can't you stop saying fuck all the time?
this movie, up until I think it was Tarantino, had the
In
record.
any film?
Yeah, had the record for the most fucks in a movie.
It was over 200.
Yeah, over 200 fucks, which
And
apparently
it was
averages out.
by a lot.
Yes.
It was the winner.
Yeah,
I mean, by hundreds, it
Yes.
was the most because the MPAA had a field day with this movie.
Yes.
It was X-rated up through its release, and they edited it, I think, 5 times. De Palma threatened to quit.
Yes.
Because he didn't want to keep editing the film.
Oh.
To try to get it an R rating.
And so in the end,
I'm glad they didn't compromise much in the end.
No. Okay, so this is the good story. So there's a little addendum to that story. Apparently, they in the last hearing before De Palma quit, he had like DEA agents and people like that come in and testify that the film was in fact an anti-drug message film. In order to convince them to give because every version he cut, they still gave an X rating to. And so they had to bring in people that says, no, this is an anti-drug film, and it would be good if more people saw this film.
Yeah.
And so finally they gave it the R rating. But apparently Brian De Palma, in realizing the ignorance of studio executives who are probably also on cocaine, realized that he could probably, and in fact did, submit the original version of the film for printing that got the initial X rating. And apparently this came out only several years later, that the original version, the theatrical version, is not in fact the cut version, but the original X-rated version of the film. So I hope that's true. I don't know if it's true or not, but I did
Hard
read
to
it.
verify.
I read it in a credible magazine. That's all I'm going to say.
Oh, okay.
Excellent. Oh, but once again, that scene with Elvira in there, right? Like, do you have to say fuck all the time? And he's like, what the fuck do you mean? Like, once again, so self-aware, right? So fucking, nuanced or in on the joke, so to speak. And, like that's just good shit right there. I mean, like, you get to know this film a lot and you can like see how this film knows itself, right? And I think that's what's kind of, to me, this thing just has, once again, it is lowbrow, but it is highly, highly intricate and well done. So he's a kingpin.
Yes.
Right? He's doing all right.
He's wearing
for himself.
suits now.
Yeah, he's wearing suits. He's got the girl.
Black suits.
Got the power, got the money, he's got it all. The world.
I know there's
the world, if you will,
is
his.
Yes. Well, that was the major scene I wanted to bring up was the dinner scene when she talks about
the
how
bad guy scene.
Yeah, well, where she talks about how they're both losers because they're both. I mean, even though they're living this huge, big kingpin style, like, he got what he wanted. He got like everything he wanted,
Yeah.
but it's in fact never going to be enough because it's not. It's barely even real to a certain extent because it can't last. Like it's not a sustainable business model in any way, shape, or form.
I mean, it is funny. Like that is certainly one way to look at it. He's certainly in the crime wave, and as a wave suggests, there's an ebb and a flow to that.
Mm-hmm.
But there's
like I said, and with all good nights of cocaine, there's always a come
it
down.
runs out eventually.
But it is funny watching that scene unfold because it is almost like deja vu to me because I've been sitting at tables with people. I know several people who, while they don't quite have Tony Montana levels of money, they have enough money to behave like him, and have been at dinner parties with these people, and they're not saying these things, but it feels like they're thinking it really hard. Like just this attitude. And it's funny because, whether this movie is anti-drug or not is hard to say. The drugs from what I can
unimportant.
tell.
Yeah.
And moreover, the drugs are clearly empowering the money. So if the money is good, the drugs are good.
Yes.
I mean, there's an A to B. But but the money doesn't
flawless logic.
But the
there.
money doesn't really seem to be good. Like this movie seems to be thoroughly anti-capitalistic by the time it's over. I mean, Tony is he's turned inside out by this. He's wasting 12% of his take, making sure no one's taking his shit.
This is the problem because he's in. Well, and then I did make a note about the paranoia because that is also a part of doing too much cocaine is the paranoia. But there's a problem. Like I said, his wealth is not sustainable because even the money that he's making, it costs him so much to manage and to be able to use that money
that loser scene emblemizes the fact that he doesn't have a life.
No.
He has like no life at all. He manages that job. He goes to an expensive restaurant, probably just like Frank. He found one he likes and he just goes there which also with the people that I'm familiar with, they do the same thing. This is just a pattern that he has fallen into. And again, this is the point at which I went outside, and I vaguely remember having come back inside and seeing part of these scenes, but it was in exactly the right kind of haze that Tony is clearly in for these scenes, where his life is just passing by him.
Mm-hmm.
Like he's no longer he's sort of going up, but not really.
No, he lives in a constant state of fear.
He's already filthy rich. He could be more filthy rich, but the adjectives are not changing anymore. Like he started out as a refugee, and he's had this meteoric rise, which I still fucking hate that term, but I used it there on accident. Meteors don't go up. But anyway, he's at the quote-unquote top, and there's really only one character above him at this point, and that's Sosa. Sosa's pretty much all there is. But he needs Sosa for business reasons, and
reasons.
Yeah, and it turns out that that's the palm, or that's the gem he can't actually. That's where his grasp and his reach don't line up anymore. Is he tries to take out Sosa kind of half-heartedly, but he's coked up and shit. We'll get to that in a minute. But while he's in the middle of being at a point of capitalistic decadence where he's achieved the American dream to the extent that makes any reasonable physical sense, he's a dazed loser.
No, he does not have an enjoyable life.
Yeah, his life is worse than it was at many rungs below this one.
No, he is the dog that caught the car.
Yeah,
he has achieved success. And that's what is that it? It's a car? All right.
Yeah.
This is how it is now.
You can only draw I screwed up that line. Anyway, so we'll just bulldoze straight through that because I don't feel like trying to say it again in case I fuck it up again.
But bad things can't last forever, can they, class?
We'll find out.
Okay.
But in this movie, absolutely not.
All right.
Yeah.
So
there's a great psychotic scene where he shows his morals in the midst of an assassination.
Okay.
I found that scene to be very Hitchcockian too, with the car following and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I think that scene's hilarious.
That scene's always stood out to me. I've always really liked that scene.
It's so neurotic.
Oh, absolutely. But the Tony muttering, like the whole sequence of the thing,
so
like who's he talking to? Fuck it. Okay, no, who knows? Nobody, right? Because the guy doesn't speak English.
You think I killed 2 kids and a woman? Fuck that! I don't need that shit in my life.
It happens. It's amazing. It's like it's actually extremely reminiscent of the scene from Pulp Fiction.
Yeah,
where I shot Martin in the face. Like it totally has that vibe of just being like, whoa. Why the fuck did that just...
Yep.
Like, that shouldn't have happened.
And yet, here we are.
Here
we fucking are. Oh, my God. It's just, like... But once, like, the editing, cutting of that scene, that's a scene that's...
so good.
Yeah, it's a lot about cutting. Setting up that tension.
It's a lot of just building tension.
And once again, it's an
Both
absolute great
inside
sequence.
the vehicle and outside to the unassuming world.
Yep. But it's just those themes and that technique that I think is so well thought out and well done. Because it's one of those things where I don't think De Palma gets enough credit, because Brian De Palma has, it is not the most magnificent of achievements in terms of his of what he's done. And I think that Scarface is, I think, for me at least, my favorite movie that he has done. It contains his best moments, his best ideas, and you mentioned Hitchcockian, and it's clearly an influence that he has within that. And it's in even watching his other films that are less.
Well, stuff like Snake Eyes has a lot of that kind of noir
Absolutely.
tension building with the different camera angles and stuff like that. It's not nearly the caliber of film that this is, but those techniques are employed.
Yeah, and it relies on a lot of the same, the stylism, the overacting, the kind of hedonism that this film kind of brings to the table. That's
just in a more confined area.
Yeah, and with Nicolas Cage, it should be mentioned too. So,
Scarface. This is an allusion to a very, very classic movie crew review. One of our favorite characters, and certainly my favorite James Franco role of all time, talks about having Scarface on repeat. And
okay, so that is exactly why I was saying you can't let that appropriation of this movie taint the brilliance of the movie in and of itself.
But the idea of having Scarface on is like a picture on your wall, just like the scenes going by. It's not like having a superhero movie on. It's not that it's flashy. It's that at any time you can have the sound off and you can just mouth the words with them.
Yeah.
You can you can just sort of temporarily embody the badassedness of whatever's happens to be going on the scene.
She'll love me again.
Yeah.
It's and this scene, almost every scene in this movie is one of those scenes. It's got to be 70%. It's got to be 70% something where you can puff up your chest and be a fucking badass for a minute.
So say goodnight to the bad guy.
Which I guess falls into the fact that this is a little noirish. There is action in this movie, but it's relatively compartmentalized. There's scenes where there's shooting going on, and then there's a lot of scenes where there's not shooting going on, where there is just there's aggressive dialogue, but it's dialogue, it's power dynamics.
No, the only scene that's, I think, really like a traditional action scene, especially in its very 80s, is the very end scene, because it has that very 80s where you have
it's fucking
a
Commando.
million commando. Yeah, it's Commando at the end. But that's the only of the action scenes. I think that's the only one that's really an action movie. I think all of them handle the action way more in a noir suspense style, barring the very last shebang.
Yeah.
Right. Well, even that one has a kind of great juxtaposition, because the
way it's creeping up behind him.
The lead up to, once again, from the exterior into the interior, right?
Yep.
It has this, but then that scene is also climaxed by the kind of just, bizarrely Freudian end to his and his sister's relationship, right?
Yeah.
And so that is the initiation into his final come down, right? Where it all, the fucking, like Samson, it's all coming down, around him, and no one's gonna get out from his fall, right? Everything will fall with Tony. And in that sense too, there is really no redeeming lessons to be taken from this fucking thing.
That's why I think it's so
don't
funny that it's
fucking
such
do
a
it.
strong mythology for people.
Well, and that's
people like Alien, that is their dream. Tony's dream is their dream. And it's not a great dream.
No, apparently not.
No, I hate to remind people of this, but Tony loses in the end.
Yeah, a little bit.
But that's not that's what I mean. But the people who've mythologized, I don't know if they just assume that that's just part and parcel with it, because they don't seem to be affected by the fact that Tony is just a loser that loses in the end.
Are they perhaps mistaking? Because David, you had a point about this earlier, I think, watching it.
Thank you.
Yeah, indeed. The use of, in a sense, text or cards to explain certain sequences in the film. Do you think that maybe, stupider people perhaps mistook that this was in fact based on a true story?
I think that you could make that, especially with the way it opens.
Yeah, because
it's got that feel.
It's got the
it's got that like bioepic feel, like in the
it's-
beginning.
Yeah, it's got the, you can imagine
In 1981,
Stallone. Yeah, you can imagine
yeah.
Stallone narrating the opening scenes, and it's because it's there are true events within it, but it doesn't say based on. So I mean, do you think maybe that like they felt like if I am Scarface enough in my life,
I think it's a
will be eulogized?
short-sightedness because, like I said, everybody loves the up. But nobody, like I said, it's like doing cocaine. Everyone loves the up. Like going up is great. Everyone loves it. Everyone wants to be there. But nobody talks about the come down. Like, it's just like a short-sightedness, I think.
This isn't even the only time this happened in this era where the entirety of the attachment to a film was, as a result, almost precisely took the wrong message, and it was extremely pro-capitalistic, and that was Gordon Gekko.
Yeah.
Like
That's
happened.
been ruining us since.
Yeah.
Yeah, Gordon Gekko, the villain of that piece.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah, the villain of the film.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I want to be that guy. And in many ways, the villain of this movie
Yes.
is exactly the same way.
Yeah.
I mean,
No, it's just, I mean, I guess it's a short-sightedness that comes with ambition, maybe.
Well, yeah, but it's
well, you want it.
Yeah.
You just want it.
That's
and
what I mean.
This person has it, and they're relatable enough. Gordon Gekko is just a fucking aging banker-looking dude. There are plenty of them to go around. Tony Montana is any dishwasher anywhere.
Any lower socioeconomic.
He looks
yeah, like
he looks like a scrappy kid.
yeah.
He is incredibly He is the Luke Skywalker of drugs.
Horatio Alger on cocaine.
No, I know. That's why I keep saying there's a mythology that's probably just as strong as Star Wars that goes with Tony Montana, you know, and, like, I guess Luke Skywalker is a more positive role model, but, if you're a...
Barely. Barely.
No, well...
Are we gonna have to investigate that?
Nah,
No.
Okay.
I'm just saying, though, but,
Fucking fucks his sister, all right? That's all I'm saying. Yeah,
Look,
sorry.
bring incest
Wait,
back.
wait. That's like the thing in all of this stuff. Tony probably would have fucked his sister by the end of
Yeah, no, I know.
almost
I'm,
I mean,
yeah,
yeah.
I'm not, the corollaries are there.
No, that's what I'm saying.
2017 is the year of incest.
But that's like I said. This is just this is Star Wars for people that did not grow up in white suburban neighborhoods.
Excellent. Okay.
Maybe.
It is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can't
It
vouch
is.
for that. So yeah.
From what I
What's
can
this?
see, it is.
77, A New Hope.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, this
Yeah.
works. That fits.
Yeah. So if you grew up in the ghetto, this is your Star Wars.
This is your New Hope.
No, I mean, I've pretty much thought this for the last decade. I've just never voiced this opinion. But yeah, this is your Star Wars.
Oh, good stuff. So,
So what's the episode 1 of the Scarface canon?
Oh shit.
I'm not saying that this is franchise-wise. They're two different things. I'm
Yeah.
talking about the myth theory at the base of them.
Yeah,
All
this
right.
is the who's that Hero of 1,000 Faces? Is this Joseph
This is the
Campbell?
Joseph Campbell. Yeah.
Yeah, in the realm of this,
Yeah.
we could definitely Joseph Campbell reading this thing.
Oh,
Yeah.
Tony is a monomyth.
So, yeah, man. So he gets shot up, gets killed. 35 bullets, however many it takes, He's
Plus
like, I'm
one
still here.
shotgun slug in the
I'm
back
here. I'm still here.
from the skull.
The skull.
He went out shooting.
Yeah, man. Went out literally blazing glory. And it doesn't linger, right? It's like even it's almost like a cleanup sequence as it goes away from it. There's nothing else to the end of this. There's no fucking
There's no
funeral.
denouement.
Yeah, no, it's over.
There's no life after Tony.
Yeah. Oh shit.
Well, because the power vacuum he creates is a whole different movie.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
So-
it actually is funny that way because the end scene, there's a pool of blood
Yep.
now full of Tony's blood. He's down. There's a globe spinning,
Mhm.
and the edifice is still there. Like his whole thing is
Yep.
there, and then the movie goes, "That's too fucking whatever. We'll deal with that later." And then credits roll. It's
Yeah.
like it doesn't want to deal with what
Absolutely.
that means. Like that's just too messy. Like
Yep.
it doesn't fucking like that's actually another thing about Tony's life. Incredibly uncomplicated.
Yeah.
Very and that may actually be why this movie flows so well, is that there aren't a lot of like
No,
intersecting
this
plot
movie's,
lines.
for as long as it is, it's very easy to watch.
It's very easy to follow because
Yeah.
Tony is always sort of like, he doesn't have like this grand, like I said, he doesn't have a grand objective beyond just
No, and
becoming filthy rich. But every time he's
No,
doing
he
something,
lays it out right in the beginning. You get the money, you get the power, you get the woman. It's
Yeah.
real easy. People can follow that. It's easy to remember.
it's just like everything he's doing, he's following his nose around. Like there isn't much intrigue, and when there is intrigue, it's very ham-fisted. This movie's very easy to follow.
But it's also strange too, because where, like, if we contrast this with my earlier pick, Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas, right? Like, but
Subverted American dreams.
indeed. But one of the things that I found very fascinating was that, you know, in watching this with the same roughly group of people, you know, there was a clear lack of understanding the motivation behind, you know, Gonzo and Raoul Duke, you know, in
Oh no,
Fear
they
and
didn't
Loathing.
know what the fuck
Yeah,
was
they
going
had a
on.
hard, like once like, but with Scarface, right? The motivation of Scarface is Tony Montana is fucking evident and like bizarrely relatable. Like, you know, like there's this weird sense
Like I
that,
said, he's Luke Skywalker,
yeah,
man.
I know. Like the simplicity with which the character projects himself into the story is so fucking well done, and yet, like, it is both simple and yet complicated, right? The complexity, I think, once again, is in the way it's
because
presented.
the story's
It's in
not
subtext.
simple. I mean, it does. I do like, you know, we didn't bring in this, but I do like how they kind of work in like the bigger structure here, where he's going to Bolivia, and you know, there's other things at play, but it doesn't complicate it.
It's not complicated because it has a degree of verticality to it. You don't see more than one drug kingpin. You see there is a really specific hierarchy, and you basically don't know about anything else. It's only vaguely referenced. It's vaguely referenced. There's a couple of brothers. There's the Colombians, but they're all completely an abstraction. There's Omar. There's Frank. There's this order, and Tony is just slotting himself in up this rank chart, and there are no branches to that chart.
No.
Yeah.
And again, that makes it easy to comprehend what's going on.
Well, and like the discipline to know that you don't need it, right? The discipline and trust you have to have that, like, look, we're just, you know, we're going to A, B, C, D this thing out, and this is where, you know, we're going to try to focus on, you know, connecting those points as effectively as possible. And it's something that kind of gets lost, but yet, you know, I find that it's so strange that, you know, so much of, you know, people's desire, I think, to see films and is this focus on like story. And when you're given something that is like, well, the story to this isn't that great of a story, right? The execution, the way it's presented, like, you know, that it becomes much, much more of why people, I find this film fucking enjoyable, right? Like, nobody's
Why
like,
I find it
Scarface,
enjoyable.
great story.
Yeah.
Like, that's not, you know, like, no, like, that's not the, you know, you're
No,
kind
I
of,
mean Tony takes no oblique angles
Yeah.
in this movie. Like following Tony's logic is extremely straightforward. Every time Tony does something smart, it is him, like checker style, hopping
Yep.
over the guy that he is supposed to answer to, and he does it 3 times. Like that's all you have to know about the intrigue of Tony's life. Tony is a very uncomplicated motivator.
yeah, but he is a man of action.
Actor, I
He is
should
a
say.
man of action, and that is something that is just, you know, not well represented in a lot of film, because, you know, usually men of action, it's like, you know, there's action films, right? They're men of action films. They're not men of, like, you know, action in terms of, like, you know, how would you move up from
Like
this
towards
one
a
after the
forward
other?
mobility.
Yes, exactly. And
or
so,
upward mobility.
well, but once again, in doing it to achieve the aims, right? Like all action movies, all action stars are like barely succeeding at the action they're undertaking, right? That's the whole, like, that's the kind of the weird thing about action films.
Or
is
they're
that
always there accident. It's like, oh, why am I the one in this situation? I didn't choose this.
Well, no, yeah, well, that's the thing. Like Die Hard is the film of a man barely succeeding the whole film, right?
Who didn't
like,
want to be there in the first
exactly.
place.
But like, so you know what I mean? Like, this isn't like some like, but to see like Tony Montana, who like acts and fucking succeeds. Like, this is what's weird about it, is that we're so so much of drama is shown how things are difficult and people barely scraping by. Tony's like, I fucking do this. I lose my friend to who got chainsawed to death by
I had
Colombians.
to watch him.
And I'm gonna fucking make this count.
Yeah.
And like, bam, done. Like moving up the ladder. And
he's watching. Every time he moves, he jumps over the guy in front of him.
Yep.
And then watches that guy fall.
Yeah.
And then jumps over the next guy and watches him fall. He's climbing a burning ladder.
Mm-hmm.
And but he is climbing the ladder. Like he could just theoretically stop at any rung in that ladder. Like there's no reason why he needs to do this other than the fact that that's the logical thing for him to be doing.
Yep.
It's to making deals, not even necessarily behind people's back, making those even every time he bypasses Omar, he tells Omar he's bypassing Omar.
Yeah.
When he bypasses Frank, he just does it. When he bypasses Sosa, he just kills the assassin. Like it's one and done. He doesn't bother. He doesn't bother to think any of this through very much.
Well, no, that's what I mean, and that's where it bites him because Sosa in the Bolivian situation, like that guy. The guy in Bolivia that is producing the cocaine, that guy is not a loser. That guy is like a rich empire. He like owns and controls like basically a whole country. So, that guy sees big picture.
right.
And Tony's not that person. Like
No, he's not.
Tony is not controlling governments and manipulating policy and controlling production. Tony is dealing with what is in front of him in a way that he would never be able to, he would never be able to make that jump to where.
But that's the weird thing about the jump is that when you get to the point where you realize what Sosa is, that he is actually the top, like you can't go above him.
Yeah.
You realize this in a scene where Tony screws up and has to answer to Sosa, and what he discovers is that there is a collage of people. That's where the whole scheme goes horizontal, because there is the general.
Yeah.
There's the ambassador. And these people are not above or below each other. They're all part of this gang that's at the top.
That's manipulating policy.
And Tony's comfort zone is to be between two people.
Yeah.
He is always between two. And when that bottom rung falls out, he jumps to being between a boss and a boss's boss again. And he can't do that with Sosa because there's no one above him.
Yeah.
So
Tony
his
can't
leapfrog
step into
technique
that.
does not work.
Yeah, and Tony can't be Sosa. Like
He's not a partner.
No.
He's not a partner to anybody.
No, like I said, because like Michelle Pfeiffer said, at the end of the day, he's sort of just the loser. Like he's not the policymaker here.
He's a merc.
Yeah.
No, and also, I mean, there's nothing Tony had that he didn't take from somebody else, right? Like, and that's kind of
because of that leapfrog.
Yes,
Like
exactly.
that's how he does it. He shoves himself into the next position by shunting someone else down the river.
Yeah, but it's also interesting too that I think the one of the most perceptive lines about Tony Montana comes from Sosa when they're sitting at the villa and he's talking to him and he's like,
I like you, Tony. There is no lying in you.
like there's like there is there like literally with Scarface, what you see is what you get, right? And he kind of like tells you where this is. There's no, he's not pretending. He's not going to, put himself out there.
He's not overselling himself.
Yeah, exactly. And so there's like, I think it's kind of unique that kind of gets, from this person, right? The one person that he can't leapfrog, right? I think that is the person who sees Tony, right, more than I think other people did, right? Because I think it's obvious that I think Frank gets Tony, but makes the mistake that Tony, is.
But doesn't give him enough credit.
Well, he mistakes he mistakes honesty for loyalty, and those are not the same thing, right? Like
Frank also doesn't really seem to view Tony as a matter of personality so much as functionality. Because Sosa's line, "There's no lying in you," that's not Tony's function in his crew. That's the approach that Tony will take. Whereas Frank talks about his honesty, but that's only in reference to the fact that Tony brought him the money and the yayo after the altercation occurred. That wasn't really even talking about Tony's character. He was just talking about needing someone like that.
Yeah.
Which is that's very different from personality. That's functionality.
Yeah.
And Sosa was commenting on his personality.
Yes, absolutely. I think so too. And it's one of those things. because Frank's not a dumb guy, right? Frank's whole purpose is, I'm going to be in this business and I'm going to last in this business, right? And of course, he makes that fatal mistake by, assuming that, I think seeing within Tony that Tony is not internalizing the lessons that Frank's trying to project to him about, like, look, if you want to last in this business, you need to moderate, you need to, you need
Don't
to
get high off your own supply.
Yeah, exactly.
Blah, blah,
you
blah,
need to follow the rules.
Yeah.
And when Tony is clearly incapable or unwilling to follow those rules, Frank fails to either see it coming ahead of time or once again believing somehow that Tony's downfall won't affect him. And it's a clear mistake in terms of like the intrinsic motivation of who he is. Which is once again ironic because it assumes that honesty is loyalty rather than the fact that it's actually honesty, and you can't assume that someone isn't that they're telling you the truth and that will somehow come across in other ways. And it's just funny because that kind of dynamic plays out in front of us, and ultimately it is of course Frank who double crosses Tony in the end, but fails to do so and pays that price for it. I mean, if there's it's just funny too, because if there's one person you're gonna try to fuck over, you'd really want to make sure you got it right with Scarface. I wouldn't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Probably.
Yeah,
I mean, for what it's worth, the fact that hit didn't work is pretty incredible.
Yeah, so that's a good.
It
scene.
really probably should have worked out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Probably should have Richard Belzer kills him. That would have fucking done it. But so, Scarface, man.
Yeah.
That's fun stuff.
Absolutely. Are we going to try to get another film in or
Well,
two before?
I mean, so it
before
was
October?
my pick, but I feel like we can get going with the October stuff because by the time we watch a movie, probably early next week, and then get podcasting, it's going to be almost November or almost October.
I mean, like I said,
So
it'll be.
I feel comfortable.
Oh,
Like,
the next podcast isn't going to go up until probably October.
that's what I mean.
4th
So
or
I feel
somewhere around there.
comfortable moving forward with my Halloween
It'll be the right
month
month.
pick.
Well, and having said that, Nicole,
Yes,
do you have a
I do.
Halloween pick for us?
I do have a pick.
Okay.
This movie's called House.
All right.
It's like a
Oh, man.
70s Japanese camp film.
Ah.
And I don't know that I can really explain much more than that.
Yeah, seeing is believing.
Yeah,
Seeing is
I don't
believing.
even know what the movie's about really, but it's worth watching.
Okay.
I mean, there's like schoolgirls in it
Let's
Oh
do
my
and
that.
some ghosts.
Okay.
Cool.
And
Are they the same?
No.
Oh.
No.
It's hard to
It
say.
is-
It's hard to say.
I don't think so, but it's a wacky one.
Oh wow.
Yeah,
Okay.
but that's I'm gonna kick it off for Halloween month with that one.
Oh wow. So I got the last Halloween pick. Damn it, that's a lot to live up to.
I mean, I don't know if I'm going to pick anything spooky for mine. I'll have to think about it, but
It's a wide category.
it is.
Halloween-ish.
Scarface should be scary.
Yeah.
It fits in
the
so
guy-
many categories.
The guy murders the shit out of a lot of people. That's kind of spooky.
Absolutely. Oh.
But in any case, so yeah, Scarface is great. House will be coming up,
Yep.
and that's going to do it for the Machination Log. Ryan and Nicole.
Here.
Good morning, everyone.